So I'm Manasi, and I'm going to be sorting everyone based on their birth month using Quicksort. So first you're going to choose a pivot, and that's the middle value, so then that would be June. So June is the pivot. And then we're going to go to move the pointers to each end, and that's November and January. So November and January compare to June, and January comes before June, and November comes after June, so they will stay. Then the pointers move to July and May, and May comes before June, and July comes after June, so they will also stay. And then the pointers move to April and March, and March comes before June, and April comes before June. So April will move to the other end on the left side, and then this pivot goes back, and then we will move to this side and sort the left side of the array of the sequence. So then we choose another pivot. So then January can step forward, and then we will compare the left side values to the new pivot, January. So we go to each end. The pointers go to April and March. April comes after January, and March comes after January. So March will stay, and April will move to the other side of the left side. And now there's nothing anymore on this side, so the pointer will only go to May. May comes after January, so May will stay. Then we go to the next pivot, and the next pivot will be March. And we compare each the pointers will go to the values on either side of the pivot. So that's May and April. May comes after March, and April comes after March as well. So then May will move to the end of that sequence. And now the left side is all sorted. So then we go to the right side.
So one thing we forgot to do in this instance was to see if Kayla and Puneet were in the right spots. In this instance, it all worked out, but if Kayla came before Puneet, we wouldn't know this because all we did was move her to the end and assume that it was in the correct position. So in this instance, what you need to do is to always make sure to take another pivot, one of those two, and to see if they're in the right spot. So in this case it worked out, but make sure if you're using Quicksort to do that in the future.
And our pivot will be July. So then we compare the values on either side, where the pointers are, June and November. June comes before July, and November comes after July, so they will stay. And then we are done with, and then we see that the entire sequence is sorted, and we are finished Quicksort.
Okay, so now we'll be doing Quicksort by using Quicksort and sorting them by height. So first we'll take the pivot. So Manasi, she's like 5'5", so we'll use her as the pivot, and then we'll go to the left side. So first we'll then sort the left side and the right based on whether they're less than 5'5" or greater than 5'5". So we first take Kenneth and Kayla. So Kayla is 5'9", so she's greater than 5'5", and Kenneth is 4 feet, so he's less than 5, so they remain the same. Then we take Calvin and Violet. Violet is 6'3", which is greater than 5'5", and Calvin is 5'11", which is greater than 5'5". So Calvin will go to the end of the right side. And then we take Hrayr and Puneet. And then Puneet is 5'2", and Hrayr is 5 feet, and they're both less. So Puneet would come over to the end of the left side. And now that's completed, we'll take both partitions. So now we'll take Kenneth as the new pivot for the left side. Okay, so since Kenneth is 4 feet, and then Puneet and Hrayr are both greater than 4, so Puneet would come over to the end of the right side of the.
Don't forget to check those two.
Okay, and then now that this side is sorted, we'll come to this side. And then so we'll take Kayla at the center as the pivot. So Kayla's 5'9", so Violet's 6'3", and Calvin is 5'11", and they're both greater than 5'9", so Violet would just come to the end of the right. And then now
and those two in the end as well, so don't forget that it's quite possible that just because they're both smaller doesn't mean that the one that you moved is smaller than the one that you didn't move. So always make sure to check that.
Okay, so hi, I'm Hrayr, and we're going to be sorting these people using Quicksort by their mile times. So what we're going to do is take the middle, it's going to be the pivot, so 401 is in the middle. So now we're going to compare everyone to this pivot. So we're going to take the ends, 528, 615, and the fastest mount time will be on this side, and the slowest mount time will be on this side. So since 528 is indeed slower than 401, it's going to move to this side. And 615 is also slower than 401, so it's going to stay there. 25 minutes is definitely slower than 401, and 722 is also slower than 401. So everyone's going to come to this side. You stay there. And then look at the next two, 528 and 1416. 528 is indeed slower than 401, so it's going to move over here, and 1416 is going to stay there. Now this seems like to be the worst case scenario, as it shows our fastest time as our pivot. So we're going to have to do the same thing. So now we need to pick a different pivot. Okay, so now I guess we'll pick the middle again. We'll take 615. Now we need to compare it again.
So the mistake I made here was to compare the already sorted 401 to the pivot. In the worst case, it is true that we need to do it again, but 401 was the pivot before, so it was already sorted, so there is no need to compare it once more. It is already sorted, so don't do that in the future. I made a mistake, sorry.
401 is faster, I will say. 528 is also faster. Okay. And then we compare 1416. 25 minutes is slower, and so is 1416. 1416 is faster. And now we have 722 and 528. So 722 is slower, 528 is faster, so they're going to switch the places. Now we finally reached the time where we need to organize based on the partition. So first we take another pivot from this side. So we take the middle one, which is 528, and we're going to compare 401 to it.
Except we're actually not going to compare it. As I said before, 401 has already been sorted, so there's no point in comparing it to the new pivot. Don't do that.
401 is faster than 528, so it stays there. Now we're going to compare this other one, which is 528 again. Since they're the same thing, it'll stay right there, it's fine, they're in order. So now we're going to check this side. So 25 minutes, that's up. We're going to compare 722 and 1416 pivot. So start with 722. It is faster than 25 minutes, so it stays there. And 1416 is faster. Yeah, it's slower. No, it's faster than 25 minutes, but it is slower than 722. So it comes here. And now, just to make sure that we're doing it right, we're going to compare 722 and 1416 to see if they're in the right spot. And it seems like they are. Now we look at it, and it's completely sorted. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Puneet, and right now we're going to be doing Quicksort to sort the set of data points for Hrayr link. So to start off, we're going to be picking our pivot, which is going to be in the middle, 1 inch. And now we're just going to be comparing either ends to 1 inch to see which one is less than 1 inch or which one's greater. So we're going to start off with 7 inches, which is greater than 1 inch. So we're going to move to this end. And we're also going to be checking this end, which is 8 inches. But you stay there because 8 inches is greater than 1 inch. Now we're going to be going to the next 2 points, which is 3 and 10. And so 3 is greater than 1 inch, so 3 is also going to move to this end. And 10 stays where it is because 10 is greater than 1. And the last one we're going to be checking is the 15 inch, which is greater than 1 inch, so it's the 15 inch is going to stay on that side. Okay, and now this was one of the worst case scenarios because we ended up picking the minimum point in the array. So now we're going to have to do the quicksort again for the rest of the data. Okay, so now we go over here. Can I sit down? So now we're going to be going over to these data points, and we'll pick a new pivot. So let's just say I pick 8 as the pivot and then the center. So 8. And now we're going to be comparing, since we already know that 1 inch is going to be all the way on the left, we're just going to be comparing 15 and 3. And 15 is greater, so 15 will move over here. And 3 is less than 8 inches, so 3 is going to move to that end. Okay. And next we'll be comparing the 2 inner values, which is 10 inches and 7 inches. So 10 inches is greater than 8, so 10 is going to move over here. And 7 inches will move all the way to the end because 7 is less than 8.
Here's another mistake that we made. I didn't move to the far side of the array over here. Instead, I stayed on the right edge. The values would actually move to the left of where Chris is if it was moved from one side of the partition to the other side of the partition, so keep that in mind.
Okay, and now we're going to be comparing these two data sets right here. So for 3 and 7, we pick a pivot point. Let's say we pick 7. So now we know that 3 is less than 7, so 3 stays where it is, and this entire half has been sorted. Now we move over to these remaining 2 data points, and we have 15 inches and 10 inches. So let's pick our pivot would be 15. And if we compare 10 to 15, we know that 10 is less than 15, so you switch. Okay. And now, as you can see, all of our data points have been sorted.
I will be using Quicksort to sort shoe sizes of 6 people. So first, we need to pick a pivot, and we choose that by choosing the center index of the array. And since there's an even amount, we'll choose the smaller number, which is Chris, with 8. And now we have 2 pointers, one on each side of the array. It's going to be 5 and 12. And we compare that to the pivot. Since 5 is smaller than 8, it stays, and since 12 is greater than 8, it stays. And now we move the pointer inside one. And then now we'll compare 7 and 10 to the pivot, which is 8. Since 7 is also smaller than 8, it stays there, and 10 is greater than 8, it stays. And then there's only one number left, we compare that to the pivot, and 8 is equal to 8, so they stay what's apart. And now we compare the partisans of the right side of the array. And since there's only 2 numbers here, we just compare the 2 numbers, 5 and 7. 5 is smaller than 7, so they stay. And on the right side, we pick a new pivot, the middle number, which is 10. We compare the left and right side of that. Since 8 is smaller than 10, it stays, and since 12 is greater than 10, it stays. And here we have the best case scenario in which we chose the median number as the original pivot, and everything else was already sorted.
And 3 inches stays right now. Okay, you're good.